The question resonated through Zara like a tuning fork struck against her bones. Was she? The Europa mission had always been her dream, but now… I don't know, she admitted. Hannah nodded, seemingly satisfied with this honest answer. When I built MAD after my husband died, everyone said a Japanese woman couldn't succeed in aerospace, that I should sell the company and live comfortably on the proceeds. She reached out and took Zara's hand. Sometimes the universe offers us unexpected trajectories, my dear. The question is whether we have the courage to follow them. After Hannah left, Zara found herself standing in Kai's home office, looking at the photographs that had gradually accumulated over the months of their fake relationship. There they were at the symphony, at charity events, hiking in the mountains, all staged for appearance, all part of the performance. But somewhere along the way, the smiles had become genuine. The way Kai looked at her in the more recent photos wasn't the calculated gaze of their early appearances. There was warmth there, tenderness even. Zara picked up a frame from his desk, a candid shot someone had taken of them in the lab, heads bent together over equipment, completely absorbed in solving a problem. It wasn't part of their public portfolio. It wasn't for show at all. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was the Europa mission director calling to follow up on the offer. "We need your decision by tomorrow, Dr. Novak," he said. "This is a competitive position." "I understand," Zara replied. "You'll have my answer." That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She wandered the penthouse thinking about Hannah's words, about unexpected trajectories, about what she truly wanted. She found herself in Kai's bedroom, a space she'd never entered before. It was meticulously organized as she'd expected, but there were surprising touches of warmth, books of poetry on the nightstand, a telescope positioned by the window, a framed star chart on the wall. On his desk sat a small box that caught her attention. Inside was a ring, not the family heirloom she wore for public appearances, but a new one. The design featured a small, perfect star sapphire surrounded by diamonds that formed a constellation pattern she immediately recognized. Cygnus, the swan constellation where Kepler 442b, the focus of her research, was located, a custom design, something no one but she would recognize the significance of. As Zara stared at the ring, her phone chimed with a message from Kai. "Landing in 2 hours. Need to talk to you. Important." Zara closed the ring box, her decision crystallizing with sudden clarity. She knew what she needed to do, what she wanted to do. For the first time since they'd met, Zara was about to go off script entirely. Rain pattered against the windows of the penthouse as Zara paced nervously. Kai's flight had landed an hour ago. He would be arriving any minute. She had rehearsed what she wanted to say, but the words felt inadequate for the magnitude of the choice she had made. When the elevator doors finally opened, Kai stepped out looking exhausted, his usually immaculate appearance slightly rumpled from travel. He stopped short when he saw her waiting. "Zara, I thought you might be asleep." "I needed to talk to you," she said, "about the Europa mission." Kai set down his briefcase, his expression carefully neutral. "Have you made your decision?" "I have." Zara took a deep breath. "I'm declining the offer." Surprise flickered across his face. "But it's everything you've worked for." "Not everything." She moved closer to him. "Your grandmother came to see me while you were gone." Kai's eyes widened. "She did what?" "She knows, Kai, about our arrangement. She's known all along." He closed his eyes briefly, absorbing this news. "I'll call her in the morning. Explain everything. This doesn't change our plan. We can still—" "I found the ring," Zara interrupted softly. Kai went very still. "What ring?" "The one with the Cygnus constellation. The one that's not for show." A flash of vulnerability crossed his face before he could mask it. "You were in my room." "Yes." Zara moved closer still, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes.
"Why did you have that made, Kai?"
"It wasn't part of our contract. It wasn't for appearances." "I can explain. I think I already understand." Zara reached up, gently touching his face. "The Europa mission is an incredible opportunity, but I realized something while you were away. Scientific discoveries mean nothing if I can't share them with someone who understands why they matter." Kai's carefully maintained control seemed to falter. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want to pretend anymore." Zara's voice softened. "Not when the reality has become so much more important than the charade." For a moment, Kai remained perfectly still, his expression unreadable. Then slowly, he reached into his pocket and withdrew a folded document. "I had the lawyers draw this up in Tokyo," he said, handing it to her. Zara opened it, scanning the legal text with confusion. "This is a dissolution of our contract." "Keep reading." As she did, understanding dawned. "You're transferring shares of MAT to me. Minority ownership. Why would you?" "Because I want you to stay," Kai said simply. "Not because of a contract or an arrangement or immigration status. Because when I'm with you, I'm the person I want to be, not just the person I'm expected to be." He took the papers from her hands and set them aside, then reached for her left hand and gently removed the heirloom engagement ring she'd been wearing for appearances. "I had a whole speech prepared," he said with a hint of self-deprecation. "Very logical, outlining all the rational reasons why we should consider a real relationship." "Of course you did," Zara said, unable to keep the affection from her voice. "But I realize now that's not what this is about." Kai reached into his pocket and withdrew the star sapphire ring. This was never about logic. He held the ring between them, a small universe of possibilities. "I had this made weeks ago. Because every time you talk about that star system, you get this look in your eyes like you're seeing wonders no one else can see. And somehow you've started looking at me that way too." Zara felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. "That's because I am." "I understand if you need time," Kai continued. "If you want to take the position in Geneva, I'll wait. We'll find a way to make it work. Real this time, not pretend." Zara shook her head, smiling through her tears. "I've already declined. My research can continue here. There will be other missions, like, are you sure? I don't want you to regret." Zara silenced him by pressing her lips to his. Unlike their public kisses, careful, choreographed performances, this one was real. Hesitant at first, then deepening as Kai's arms wrapped around her, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, Kai rested his forehead against hers. "I think we've gone completely off script," he murmured. "Good," Zara replied. "I never liked that script anyway. Too predictable." Kai laughed, a genuine sound she'd come to treasure. He held up the ring. "This isn't a proposal, not yet. It's a promise that when I do ask, it won't be because of business or family obligations or immigration status." Zara held out her hand, allowing him to slide the ring onto her finger. Not the traditional ring finger, but the middle finger of her right hand. "A beginning, not an ending. I have one condition," she said. "Name it. We tell the truth. To your grandmother, to immigration, to everyone." "No more pretending," Kai nodded. "Agreed. Though I should warn you, Naomi will be insufferable when she realizes she was right to be suspicious." "Let her gloat," Zara said. "Some things are worth a little embarrassment." The rain had stopped, and the first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon. They moved to the balcony, watching as the stars faded and a new day began. "So what happens now?" Kai asked, his arm around her waist. Zara looked up at him. At this man who had entered her life as a business proposition and somehow become essential to it. "Now," she said, "we stop following the script and start writing our own story." As the sun rose, casting golden light across the city below, Kai pulled her into another kiss, one that held no pretense, no performance, just the simple truth of two people who had found in each other something neither had been looking for, but both now realized they couldn't live without. What had begun as a paper promise had transformed into something neither of them had anticipated, a constellation of truth, each moment connecting to form a pattern more beautiful than either could have designed alone. Yet as she lay in bed that night, Zara found herself wondering what would happen when their arrangement reached its predetermined end. And for the first time, the thought of walking away when it was over filled her with an unexpected sense of loss. "Dr. Novak, a moment, please." Zara turned to see the department chair. Dr. Washington hurrying down the university corridor toward her, waving a folder. "I've just received the most extraordinary email," he said, slightly breathless. "The Europa mission is looking for an atmospheric specialist. They specifically requested you." Zara's heart leapt. The Europa mission was the most prestigious joint international space project in decades, a chance to study Jupiter's moon for potential subsurface life. "Me? But why?" "Your work on detecting biological markers in thin atmospheres caught their attention." Dr. Washington beamed. "It's a 3-year position at their research facility in Geneva. They need someone with your expertise." "Geneva," Zara repeated, the implication sinking in. "Switzerland." Think of the opportunities, the facilities they have, the minds you'd be working with. Dr. Washington squeezed her shoulder. They need an answer within 2 weeks. I told them you'd be thrilled. As she walked home that evening, Zara's mind raced. The Europa mission was quite literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the kind of project that defined careers, the kind she'd dreamed about since graduate school, but it would mean leaving the country. Breaking her arrangement with Kai before she received permanent residency. Potentially never being able to return. Kai was hosting a business dinner when she arrived at the penthouse. She slipped in quietly, intending to retreat to her room, but he spotted her immediately, excusing himself from his guests. "Everything okay?" he asked, his eyes searching her face with the perceptiveness she'd grown accustomed to. "Fine," she said automatically. "Don't let me interrupt." Kai studied her for a moment longer. "We'll finish in about an hour. Will you still be up?" She nodded, grateful for his understanding. Later, when his guest had departed, Kai found her on the balcony, staring at the night sky. "What happened?" he asked, handing her a glass of wine as he joined her. Zara told him about the Europa mission offer, watching his expression carefully. "It's an incredible opportunity." "It certainly is," Kai agreed, his face unreadable. "When would you need to leave?" "Next month. If I accept." "If." Zara turned to face him fully. "Our arrangement." "My residency would be jeopardized," Kai finished. He leaned against the railing, looking out at the city lights. "Unless we accelerated the timeline. Got married before you leave." The suggestion hung in the air between them. "That wasn't the plan," Zara said carefully. "Plans change." Kai's voice was neutral, professional. "It's a logical adjustment to the circumstances." "And after? If we're married and I'm in Switzerland for 3 years, the contract allows for separation after securing your immigration status. We'd proceed with the original agreement, just delayed." Something about his detached analysis stung more than it should have. After months of living together, of gradually crossing the boundaries they'd established, she'd started to think perhaps. But no. This had always been a business arrangement. She was foolish to imagine it had become anything else. "I'll think about it," she said, finishing her wine. "Thank you for being flexible." The next day, Kai announced he needed to travel to Tokyo for emergency meetings with investors. He would be gone for a week. "Naomi has been raising concerns about our engagement," he explained as he packed, making insinuations to key shareholders. "I need to stabilize things." "Of course," Zara replied, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. "Business comes first." Kai paused, looking like he wanted to say something more, but instead simply nodded and continued packing. With Kai away, the penthouse felt strangely empty. Zara threw herself into preparing for her potential new position, researching the Europa mission and contacting colleagues who might have insights. 3 days into Kai's absence, the doorbell rang. Zara opened it to find Hana Matsuo standing there, supported by a discreet nurse who waited several steps behind. "Grandmother Matsuo," Zara stammered, surprised. "Kai isn't here." "I know," Hana said, her voice stronger than her frail appearance suggested. "I came to see you." Uncertain, Zara invited her in, hastily preparing tea in the kitchen while Hana settled in the living room. "My grandson is in Tokyo fighting for his company," Hana said, without preamble when Zara returned with the tea. "Because Naomi has convinced several board members that your engagement is a sham." Zara nearly dropped the teacup. Don't insult us both by denying it," Hana said sharply. "I've suspected from the beginning." Shame washed over Zara. She set down her cup, hands trembling slightly. "I'm sorry." To her surprise, Hana's expression softened. "For what? For helping my grandson keep what he's worked for? Or for falling in love with him when that wasn't part of your agreement?" Zara's head snapped up. My dear, I'm 87 years old. I've seen enough of life to recognize when feelings become real." Hana sipped her tea calmly. "The question is, does Kai know how you feel?" "There's nothing to know," Zara insisted. "We have a mutually beneficial arrangement." Hana set down her cup. "And this opportunity in Switzerland? Will you take it?" "How did you know about that?" "I may be old, but I still have my sources." Hana's eyes twinkled briefly before turning serious. "Kai called me last night from Tokyo. He asked about expediting the transfer of my shares before my birthday." "He did?" "He said he wanted me to know that regardless of what happens with your engagement, He has never been more certain of what he wants. Hanna fixed Zara with a penetrating gaze. Are you certain of what you want, Dr. Novak? Kai glanced up, seeming momentarily thrown by her presence. Work thoughts. You? The same. I'm processing new data from the Webb telescope. Potential atmospheric anomalies on Kepler 442b. To her surprise, Kai pushed a second mug toward her. Green tea with honey. It helps me when my mind won't shut down. The unexpectedly considerate gesture created a moment of quiet connection as they sat at the kitchen island, discussing their work in the peaceful small hours when the city below was still dark. Then, there was the morning Zara's alarm failed, and she rushed into the bathroom without checking if it was occupied, coming face to face with Kai as he stepped out of the shower with only a towel around his waist. Water droplets clung to his shoulders, and Zara found herself momentarily transfixed by the defined muscles of his chest and abdomen. I'm so sorry, she stammered, backing out quickly. I didn't realize. It's fine, he called after her. But Zara was already retreating to her room, her face burning with embarrassment. Neither of them mentioned the incident, but something shifted subtly afterward. A new awareness hummed between them, making their carefully maintained distance feel more deliberate. The real turning point came 3 weeks into their cohabitation, when Zara received devastating news. The specialized equipment she needed for her research had malfunctioned, potentially destroying months of collected data. She sat at her desk staring blankly at her computer screen, trying to calculate if there was any way to salvage the project before the upcoming grant review. Without results, her funding would be cut, regardless of her residency status. A knock at her office door broke her concentration. Kai stood there holding a cup of coffee. You missed dinner, he said. I thought you might need this. Zara accepted the cup gratefully. Thanks. Bad news? He asked, nodding toward her computer. The worst. Equipment failure at the lab. I might lose everything. Instead of offering platitudes, Kai moved to her side and studied the error messages on her screen. This is the atmospheric spectrometer data? Zara nodded, surprised by his knowledge of her work. What if you used our satellite imaging software to filter the noise from your partial data? He suggested. Matt developed it for detecting minute variations in spacecraft re-entry patterns, but the algorithm could be adapted. For the next several hours, they worked side by side, Kai calling in experts from his company, while Zara explained the parameters of her research. By dawn, they had salvaged most of her data and improved the analysis methodology in the process. As the first light of morning streamed through the windows, Zara looked at Kai, his usual perfect appearance disheveled, sleeves rolled up, entirely focused on helping solve her problem. Why did you do this? She asked softly. Kai looked up, seeming surprised by the question. Your work is important. But it's not your problem. Something vulnerable flickered across his face. You are. That is, while we're in this arrangement, your concerns are mine as well. Is that in the contract too? No, he admitted. That was unscripted. The word hung between them, acknowledging the territory they were entering that lay beyond their careful agreement. That night, they celebrated the rescued data with takeout from Zara's favorite Thai restaurant, another detail Kai had somehow absorbed without her noticing. As they ate on his balcony overlooking the city, their conversation flowed more naturally than ever before. I've been meaning to ask, Zara said, gathering her courage. The night we met, how did you know I'd be at that particular bar? Kai hesitated. I didn't. I'd been working up the courage to approach you for weeks, ever since I saw your lecture at the university. Weeks? Zara set down her fork. But that was before my visa issue was made public. Yes. So you didn't choose me because of my immigration status. Kai studied his plate. That was a convenient alignment of interests. Then why me? His eyes met hers, surprisingly honest. Because when you talk about distant stars, your whole face lights up. Because you challenge the prevailing theories in your field without caring who you offended. Because you see possibilities others don't. Zara felt warmth spreading through her chest that had nothing to do with the spicy food. We should practice for the immigration interview, she said, changing the subject to safer ground. They'll ask personal questions. Kai nodded, seemingly relieved. What's my morning routine? Alarm at 5 a.m., 15 minutes of meditation. Black coffee, no sugar. CNN headlines while you dress. Zara rattled off, surprising herself with how much she'd noticed. You always check your right cufflink twice. Kai raised an eyebrow. Observant. What about me? You sleep with 2 pillows. You talk to yourself when you're reading. You drink coffee all day but switch to tea after 4 p.m. You keep a notebook by your bed and write in it sometimes at 3 a.m. The intimacy of his observations made Zara's pulse quicken. These weren't facts from a dossier. These were things he'd noticed because he was paying attention. As they continued exchanging details, Zara realized that somewhere along the way, their performance had started to contain elements of truth. The way Kai's hand now naturally found the small of her back when they walked together. The way she could read the subtle shifts in his expression that most people missed. That night, as they said goodnight at their respective bedroom doors, Zara found herself lingering. Thank you, she said softly, for helping with my research. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, Kai replied, his voice equally quiet. For a moment they stood in the hallway, the air between them charged with something neither had planned for. Then Kai reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear with gentle fingers. Good night, Zara, he said, turning toward his room. As she closed her door, Zara leaned against it, her heart beating faster than it should. This wasn't supposed to happen. Feelings weren't part of their agreement. Feelings complicated everything. How chivalrous of fictional you, Zara said dryly. Is that her? Your grandmother? She nodded toward an elegant elderly woman holding court across the room, surrounded by admirers despite her frail appearance. Yes. Hana Matsuo built Matt from a small engineering firm into what it is today after my grandfather died. Something like reverence entered Kai's voice. She's the reason I do what I do. Before Zara could respond, they were approached by a woman with sleek black hair and calculating eyes. Cousin, she greeted Kai with air kisses. Aren't you going to introduce me to your unexpected fiancé? Dr. Zara Novak, meet my cousin Naomi Matsuo, Kai said smoothly. Naomi oversees our military contracts division. How fascinating, Zara replied, noting the tension in Kai's posture. This must be the cousin who stood to gain if their charade failed. Quite the whirlwind romance, Naomi observed. Kai has never mentioned you at family dinners. And believe me, grandmother asks every time. We wanted to keep things private, Kai interjected, given the press interest in the company. Naomi's gaze swept over Zara. And what exactly attracted you to my cousin, Dr. Novak? His charming personality? Or perhaps his controlling interest in a multi-billion-dollar aerospace company? Zara felt Kai stiffen beside her, but she squeezed his arm reassuringly. Actually, it was his question about spectroscopic analysis of methane signatures. Zara replied with a genuine smile. Most people focus on oxygen biomarkers, but Kai immediately understood the implications of methane preservation in thin atmospheres. Intelligence is quite attractive. Naomi's eyes narrowed slightly, but Kai was looking at Zara with something like surprise. If you'll excuse us, Kai said, I should introduce my fiancé to grandmother. As they walked away, Kai leaned close to her ear. That was impressive. Where did you learn to handle people like that? Academia is just politics with footnotes, Zara replied. And I did read that spectroscopy paper you published last year. Part of my due diligence. A flash of genuine appreciation crossed Kai's face before his business mask returned. Hana Matsuo might have been in her 80s, but her dark eyes missed nothing as Zara and Kai approached. She extended a hand adorned with a jade ring that looked ancient. So this is the woman who has accomplished what a dozen socialites and 3 matchmakers could not, she said in lightly accented English. Zara took her hand, feeling the surprising strength in the older woman's grip. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Matsuo. Kai speaks of you with such respect. Call me Hana and tell me what made you say yes to my grandson. He works too much and talks too little. Not qualities most women seek in a husband. Zara felt Kai tense beside her. They had rehearsed this question, but the practiced answer felt hollow under Hana's penetrating gaze. Instead, Zara found herself speaking from an unexpected place of truth. He sees the universe the way I do, she said quietly, not just as it is but as it could be. When I talk about planets light years away, he doesn't ask why it matters, he already knows. Hana studied her for a long moment before nodding slightly. Sit with me. Tell me about your stars while Kai fetches us some champagne. For the next 30 minutes, Zara found herself genuinely enjoying Hannah's company. The older woman was sharp, asking insightful questions about Zara's research that went beyond polite interest. Your work, searching for signs of life on distant worlds, it must be lonely sometimes, Hannah observed. Science often is, Zara admitted, but worth it for those moments when you discover something no one has ever seen before. Hannah smiled. Kai is like that too, single-minded, driven. It worried me. She glanced across the room where Kai was deep in conversation with some investors. Less so now. Later, as they danced, another scripted activity on Kai's meticulous checklist, Zara found herself studying the man who was now, at least publicly, her fiancé. Your grandmother is not what I expected, she said. What did you expect? Someone easier to fool, honestly. Kai's hand tightened slightly at her waist. Is she suspicious? No, that's what worries me. She genuinely seems to think we're in love. Zara looked up at him. What happens when she realizes we're not? She won't, Kai said with quiet confidence. Not if we're convincing enough. As if to demonstrate, he pulled her closer, his eyes never leaving hers as they moved across the dance floor. For a moment, with his arm around her waist and the music surrounding them, Zara could almost believe this wasn't all for show. Naomi is watching, Kai murmured. She'll be looking for any sign this isn't genuine. Without warning, he leaned down and brushed his lips softly against hers. The kiss was brief, professional almost, but something unexpected fluttered in Zara's chest. Was that in the contract? She asked quietly when he pulled back. Appendix C. Public displays of affection deemed necessary for convincing performance. Kai's voice was businesslike, but Zara noticed he hadn't moved away. Of course. She forced a smile, always thorough. As they drove back to their respective apartments later that night, Zara found herself thinking about that kiss. About the way Kai's eyes had softened when she'd defended their relationship to Naomi. About the genuine respect in his voice when he spoke of his grandmother. She reminded herself sternly that this was all temporary. A business arrangement. Nothing more. But as she drifted off to sleep, Zara couldn't help wondering what it might be like if some part of their charade were real. This is absolutely unnecessary, Zara insisted as she watched the moving crew carry her bookshelf into Kai's penthouse apartment. The immigration interview isn't for another 3 months. We don't need to be living together yet. Kai looked up from his tablet where he was directing the placement of her belongings. Naomi dropped by my office yesterday. She mentioned hiring a private investigator. She what? Zara nearly dropped the box of research papers she was holding. It's a logical move, Kai said with frustrating calmness. If I were in her position, I'd do the same. We need to accelerate our timeline. Zara set down the box with more force than necessary. You could have consulted me before deciding we needed to cohabitate. The contract includes a contingency for living arrangements if the situation required it. Kai gestured to the east wing of the apartment. You'll have your own bedroom, bathroom, and I've converted the sunroom into a home office for you. Complete privacy. The annoyingly thoughtful gesture deflated some of Zara's anger. She'd been working from her cramped dining table for years. Fine, she conceded, but we need ground rules. Schedules for shared spaces, already drafted. Kai handed her a printout. Kitchen usage, bathroom timing, entertainment system access. I've even allocated specific refrigerator shelves. Zara skimmed the document, caught between exasperation and reluctant admiration for his thoroughness. Do you ever do anything spontaneously? Spontaneity leads to inefficiency. And do you ever speak like a normal human being instead of a corporate handbook? For a moment, Zara thought she saw the corner of his mouth twitch toward a smile. But it was gone so quickly she might have imagined it. Living with Kai proved both easier and more challenging than Zara had anticipated. Easier because he respected her space and schedule meticulously. More challenging because despite their careful choreography, there were moments that couldn't be planned for, like finding him in the kitchen at 3 a.m., making tea in sweatpants and a faded university t-shirt, looking surprisingly human without his usual armor of tailored suits. Couldn't sleep?
She asked, padding to the refrigerator for water.
The fluorescent lights of the university laboratory buzzed overhead as Zara Novak stared at the email that had just arrived. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her glasses, reading the words again to make sure she hadn't misunderstood. Final notice. Your work visa extension has been denied. You have 60 days to leave the country or secure alternative immigration status. Zara pushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear and exhaled slowly. 6 years of groundbreaking research on exoplanet atmospheres, multiple published papers, and a team that depended on her leadership, all of it threatened because of bureaucratic red tape. Bad news? Dr. Elijah Washington, her mentor and department head, appeared at her shoulder. The worst, Zara replied, showing him the email. I've tried everything, Elijah. My lawyer says without a permanent position or other options, I'm out of luck. Elijah's brow furrowed. What other options? Zara gave a humorless laugh. Marriage to a citizen, basically. Not exactly something I can arrange in 2 months. Later that evening, Zara nursed a glass of wine at her favorite bar near campus, scrolling through job listings in her home country. None offered the resources or equipment her current research required. Is this seat taken? A smooth voice asked. Zara looked up to find a tall Japanese-American man in an impeccably tailored suit, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. His features were striking, high cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. Be my guest, she replied, returning to her phone. You're Dr. Zara Novak, he stated rather than asked, sliding into the seat. I recognize you from your TED Talk on habitable exoplanets. Zara raised an eyebrow. And you are? Kai Matsuo, he said, offering his hand. I'd like to propose a mutually beneficial arrangement. I'm not interested in whatever you're selling, Mr. Matsuo. Not selling, proposing. He slid a business card across the table. Matsuo Aerospace Technologies. Recognition flickered in Zara's eyes. Matt was one of the largest private aerospace companies in the country, and a potential funding source her department had been courting for months. My grandmother is dying, Kai continued, his voice softening slightly. Her final wish is to see me settled down before she passes. She controls 51% of Matt's shares, which according to her will go to my cousin if I'm not engaged by her birthday next month. Zara studied him. And this concerns me how? I need a fiancé. A convincing one, someone accomplished, intelligent, and preferably in a related field. His eyes met hers. You need permanent residency to continue your research here. I can provide that. Zara almost choked on her wine. You're suggesting we get married? You don't even know me. Engaged first, marriage only if necessary. Kai opened his briefcase and removed a folder. I've researched you thoroughly, Dr. Novak. Your work on atmospheric biomarkers is revolutionary. You're respected in your field. Have no romantic entanglements according to your social media. And he glanced at her email still open on her phone. Are facing deportation. You've been spying on me? Due diligence. Kai pushed the folder toward her. Inside you'll find a contract detailing the arrangement. 6 months of engagement, a year of marriage if needed, followed by an amicable divorce. You get permanent residency. I retain control of my company. We both continue our work uninterrupted. Zara flipped through the pages, noting the meticulous details, separate living spaces, scheduled appearances, social media guidelines, even a substantial inconvenience fee payable to her upon completion. This is insane, she muttered, but continued reading. Consider the alternative, Kai said. You leave the country, abandon your research, and start over somewhere with inferior facilities. I lose control of my company to a cousin who wants to sell it for parts. Zara looked up at him. Why me? Surely there are women who'd jump at the chance to marry Kai Matsuo, eligible bachelor and tech mogul. Something flashed in his eyes. I need someone who understands this is a business arrangement, not a fairy tale. Their eyes locked across the table, measuring each other. We'd have to be convincing, Zara said slowly, testing the idea. Your grandmother would see through it if we can't at least act like we care for each other. I'm prepared to be thorough. We'll create a backstory, photographs, coordinated social media. I've outlined it all. Zara closed the folder. I'll need to think about it. You have 48 hours, Kai replied, standing. My offer expires then. As he walked away, Zara noticed several patrons watching him. Kai Matsuo was clearly someone people noticed. Could she really pretend to be in love with a man like that? A man who saw marriage as just another business transaction? That night, Zara barely slept. She called her parents in Croatia, carefully avoiding mentioning her visa troubles. She scrolled through Kai's proposal again, noting the prenuptial agreement protecting both their assets, the privacy clauses, the detailed timeline. The next morning, She walked into her lab and looked at the specialized equipment she'd spent years calibrating, at the wall of data representing potentially habitable worlds, at the team of graduate students who depended on her guidance. By evening, she had made her decision. Zara met Kai at his downtown office, the city lights twinkling below the floor-to-ceiling windows. "I'll do it," she said without preamble, "but I have conditions. My research comes first. I won't attend events that conflict with critical experiments or conferences." Kai nodded. "Reasonable. Any other terms?" "If I'm to be your fiancé, I want Matt to fund my department's new telescope initiative. Not as a personal favor, it has genuine scientific merit." A hint of a smile touched Kai's lips. "Already negotiating like family." "Business," she corrected. "This is business," Kai extended his hand. "To a successful partnership, Dr. Novak." Zara took it, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers. "To paper promises, Mr. Matsuo." As she signed the contract, Zara wondered if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life, or saved everything she had worked for. Either way, there was no turning back now. The amber glow of crystal chandeliers illuminated the grand ballroom where Seattle's elite mingled in designer formal wear. Zara adjusted the unfamiliar weight of the diamond engagement ring on her finger. A Matsuo family heirloom that Kai had presented to her during their romantic dinner last week, conveniently photographed by a paparazzo who just happened to be nearby. "Stop fidgeting," Kai whispered, his hand warm against the small of her back as he guided her through the crowd. "You look like you're plotting an escape." "Maybe I am," Zara muttered, though she had to admit the midnight blue gown Kai's stylist had selected complemented her olive skin beautifully. "Remind me why we're at this gala again." "My grandmother always attends the Children's Hospital benefit. It's our first public appearance as a couple where she'll be present." His eyes scanned the room. "Remember our story?" "We met at the Aerospace Engineering Conference in Zurich," Zara recited. "You were presenting on sustainable rocket propulsion. I was there discussing atmospheric analysis of exoplanets. You asked a question during my presentation that impressed me. And you spilled coffee on my suit the next day," Kai added. "I asked for your number instead of sending you the cleaning bill."